Hi guys, we are going to talk about the tunnel that I saw during my near-death experience. So stay tuned. Hey you guys, my name is Susan. I was born clairvoyant and had a near-death experience in 2017 in which I merged with the unnamable energy that goes by many names, including God. And as many of you know, my near-death experience had many legs to it. It was really an epic odyssey of a journey. For those of you who don't know, just briefly, I had been exceptionally sick for a year at that point. Like I was on a walker. Much of that year, actually, I couldn't walk at all, and I'd be army crawling around the house, like making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for my kids on the floor, and then leaving them out on the floor, and then army crawling back to the couch. I was getting IVs every day, and I had chronic Lyme disease, and I was so sick. And that's what prompted this near-death experience. And I knew it was going to happen the night that it did happen. Which is ironic because actually my friends had been telling me I was going to die for months, and I didn't believe them until the night I knew it was true. While I was crawling up the stairs, my guides intervened. I had tried everything I could. My boys were safely with their father, so I knew I could finally die in peace. As I was crawling up the stairs, my guide said, "You have to get out of your body tonight and get help." And this pierced my resignation. I was like, oh, because I was out of options. But I had never astral traveled on command. I had just done it naturally my whole life, but I'd never said, I'm going to astral travel now, let's go. So they told me how to do it. Specifically, they gave me the instructions, and I kept crawling up the stairs to my bed, and I did it. And the moment I rolled out of my body, astrally, I haven't talked about this portion of my near-death experience. I don't know why. It's just as interesting as all the other stuff. But the moment I rolled out of my body, directly there next to my physical head, it looked like a gray blur moving from side to side. It looked like, let's say, a train speeding so fast that it only appeared as a gray blur. And I was terrified. I still was in my personality. So it gave me a moment's pause to see the color of the tunnel. I was like, that's weird. Everyone else talks about their tunnels as being tunnels of light. And I was like, figures I get some Eeyore gray tunnel. But my relief actually outweighed that pause I had about it being the color gray, because that was my whole thing. When I got out of my body, I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, how do you find extra help? I was kind of thinking of cosmic AAA, like I could get out of my body and maybe find an off-duty, somebody's personal off-duty guardian angel and ask them for like a health bump as if it was a video game. So I had no idea what to do once I got out of my body. But I was so grateful because the answer was already there. There was this speed of light fast tunnel that I intuitively knew I needed to slide into. Like, it was moving so fast, I kind of had to take my astral body and slide into it with the grain. I knew I couldn't just like walk into it. I had to like a knife blade kind of slide into it. I had no idea where it was going to take me, but that actually didn't make me afraid. What would have made me even more afraid is if I got out of my body and saw nothing and met no one, because that was my whole intention, was, oh my God, if there is one chance left to come back and my guides are telling me this is it, I still didn't know what more would happen after I got out of my body. And so that's what I did. I slid myself into the tunnel. And it was like speed of light fast, because in one instant, and while I was in the tunnel, like, it was so fast. This is what I can explain to you guys. It was so fast. The moment I slid into it, I was delivered to the destination. So I did not take a tunnel ride like a lot of people talk about. This was so fast, it was instantaneous. The moment I merged my energy with that streak, I was instantaneously delivered to the womb space, which is known by many people as the void. So I don't know what was in that tunnel. I don't know what it was. But I can tell you, when I was a little girl, one night I was sneak reading after bed under my nightlight. And I looked up and there was a huge green and yellow swirling portal as big as my headboard. Like, I couldn't see my headboard anymore. I had a twin bed. And I mean, I couldn't have been more than like in first grade, and I was terrified. That was one of a couple of nights that I was most terrified of what I was clairvoyantly seeing, because my first thought was, what's going to come out of that thing? Anything could come out of that thing. And it's literally right over my bed, right over my head. Because I was getting ready to go to bed. That's why I looked up from my book. I was going to close the book and go to my bed. And that tunnel, just like the gray streak, would have been right by my head. And I just recently intuitively came to understand nothing was ever going to come out of that tunnel. That was an exit only. That was me being half asleep, because that's what I would do. I'd be so scared at night. I would sneak read until I was like almost asleep under the nightlight. Like a horse with blinders. I just don't want to see any of this stuff. I would sneak read until I was physically almost totally asleep, and then launch into bed. And it just intuitively occurred to me not long ago that I manifested that portal and where it was supposed to go. And by discerning its colors, the green of the heart space and the yellow of the wisdom and the intellect, my destination, I intuitively believe correlates with those colors and what they energetically represent, which, like I said, is the green of love and the wisdom of the yellow. Think of the chakras, you know? And looking through that frame at the charcoal gray blur of a tunnel, I understand today that I manifested that. And it was the same thing manifested right by my physical head. And I wanted to return to my birth space, the void, which is the darkest, stillest black you could ever imagine, like wet velvet. So it makes sense, the color of that tunnel. And that's just my hypothesis. I might get an intuitive download that changes my perception on that entirely. But to me, those coincidences aren't coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. So that's my theory on the coloring of that tunnel. And I was all about business. I wanted to get a health bump yesterday because I did want to get back so I could help raise my sons. But I just didn't have any life force left. And like, I'd been to the ER earlier that day and they're like, nothing's wrong with you. And I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? So I was all about business, and that also makes sense because that tunnel, like I said, was instantaneous. So I think also, and this is just an opinion, I think that we are capable of manifesting portals and tunnels and time folding and space folding. I believe that each one of us are capable of things that are normally only shown in sci-fi movies. So I just wanted to share that because I just realized I never had. So thanks for listening, you guys, and I would love to hear any of your experiences. For those NDEers out there, if you had a tunnel experience and what that was like for you, I'd love to hear about it. And please subscribe if you like this video, and you can catch me at susandyer.com. I teach classes on Patreon, and I have a group for women, Divining Women, on Facebook. So, love you guys, thank you, and see you soon.